When you first see this dance style, your brain immediately goes to one place, ancient Egypt. But the real story behind tutting, it's way more modern and honestly a lot more surprising than you might think. I mean, you can see it right away, can't you? Those sharp lines, the poses that look like they're carved from stone, the perfect geometric shapes. It's a style that's just so precise and so visually stunning. It really is like watching a piece of ancient art come to life. So that's the big question we're going to dive into. Is this really an ancient dance, or is there something else going on entirely? Let me just say, the answer involves funk music, California street corners, and a very unexpected TV villain. Okay, so to really understand tutting, we have to start with the most obvious influence, the one that gives the style its signature look and, of course, its name. At its absolute core, tutting is a street dance. It's all about creating these really complex, boxy, angular shapes with your body, mostly using your arms, your hands, and even your fingers. And this shot just illustrates the connection perfectly. You've got the ancient Egyptian art on one side and a modern tutter on the other. You can see how the dancers are intentionally mimicking those flat, angular poses right out of the hieroglyphics. It's literally bringing ancient art to life through movement. And of course, the name itself just seals the deal. Tutting comes directly from King Tutankhamun, King Tut. The name alone makes you think of all those iconic Egyptian images. But this is where the story takes a fascinating turn. Because even though the inspiration feels ancient, the dance itself was actually born in a very specific time and a very specific place, 1970s California. Tutting didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was born from this incredibly creative, high-energy street and funk dance scene that was just blowing up in California during the 70s and 80s, and it grew up alongside some other legendary styles. You had dancers who were just experimenting, mixing styles like popping, that's where you're quickly contracting your muscles to the beat, and locking, which is famous for its fast freezes and big, expressive movements. And this creativity wasn't happening in some fancy studio. It was all going down on street corners and then getting beamed into living rooms across the world on iconic shows like Soul Train, which was a massive platform for these new art forms. Now, this is where it gets really good. Where did the direct inspiration come from? We know it's called tutting, we know it looks Egyptian, but the actual spark for one of its key pioneers came from a source you would never, ever guess. So meet one of those pioneers, Mark Benson. He went by the name King Boogaloo Tut, which is just an awesome name. He was blending that funk style of Boogaloo with this new Egyptian-inspired movement. He was absolutely essential in shaping what we now call tutting. But here's the crazy twist. Even though he totally knew about the Egyptian connection, his aha moment, the thing that really made him want to dance this way, it didn't come from a history book or a trip to the museum. That's right. The direct inspiration was a campy, totally over-the-top villain from the 1960s live-action Batman TV show. This villain would strike these super dramatic, angular poses. So you have this ancient aesthetic being filtered through a pop culture lens. How cool is that? So now that we know the wild history behind it, let's break down the dance itself. What are the core techniques that make tutting look like tutting? It really boils down to three main components. You've got the big angular movements with your arms, you've got the creation of all these geometric shapes and boxes, and then you have the incredibly detailed, mind-bending stuff known as finger tutting. The absolute key here is precision. The entire look is built on creating these clean, sharp 90-degree angles with every single joint, your wrists, your elbows, and your shoulders. It's basically like living geometry. And to pull this off, dancers rely on a few key skills. Isolations. That's what creates the illusion that different body parts are moving all by themselves. Then they use poses and freezes to add that dramatic punch. And of course, all of it has to connect to the music, flowing seamlessly from one shape to the next. And that brings us to today. Tutting isn't just some relic of the 80s, not by a long shot. It's a living, breathing art form that is constantly growing. That same innovative spirit that started out on those California street corners is still alive and well. Dancers today are always pushing the boundaries, blending tutting with other styles, creating brand new combinations, and making sure this art form never, ever gets stale. So in the end, tutting looks ancient, but its story is this incredible mix of history, pop culture, and pure, raw creativity. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other things that we see every day have these kinds of secret histories just waiting to be uncovered?